Hello, everybody. This is Catholic Dad, episode number 413. Do me a favor and project. So it's been a really long time since I've posted a Catholic Dad video. So hello again. What's happened in the interim since I posted my last videos? Well, the election occurred. That was a really big thing. Coronavirus has been raging. Really, I don't know if it has. But all that being said is, I want to teach you about something called projection. We as Catholics probably should be doing it more frequently in our lives, and projection helps us become better people in the future because we don't get surprised by certain moral events that we have to take stances on in the future. And so, a good example of this, okay? So, I just read a book called Ordinary Men. I don't know if you've ever read the book. But what Ordinary Men is, it's about Police Battalion 101 in Poland. It's a German police battalion. So, it's a bunch of middle aged police officers from Germany that were sent there by the German government to help keep law and order in Poland. And they were doing like typical police duties, right? They weren't asked to do anything atrocious, and they were keeping the peace and so on and so forth until one morning. And so there was the Joseph O. Massacre. This is the first massacre that they took part in. There were 500 officers in Police Battalion 101, and what they did was they took these officers, all 500 of them, out early in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and they said, "These are our orders, gentlemen." And they said the orders are this: that we're going to go in, we're going to clean out the ghettos of all the Jews, we're going to take them into the countryside, and we're going to shoot them in the back of the head, in the neck. We're going to shoot them in the neck, and then dump them into these mass graves that are already dug, and we're going to do it outside of town. If they can't walk or they're burdened trying to get them out of there, you just shoot them on the spot and be done with them. And so there's 500 police officers, like good ordinary people, right, that are trying to keep the peace in Poland, and then all of a sudden they're presented with this moral dilemma. And the amazing part was this, is that the general or the colonel or whatever it was that was the head of the battalion said to him, "And oh, by the way, you don't have to take part in this. You can leave. Feel free to leave. You can go back to Germany, go back to your lives. You don't have to be part of this." There's 500 men standing there, 4 o'clock in the morning, and how many of the men stepped out of the situation? 12. So 2.4% of all the men, police officers, Germans, and they had the moral courage to step out of the situation. Now, the amazing part about the Police Battalion 101 is this, that they interviewed these guys after the war, and most of them did survive. And the fact of the matter is, most of Police Battalion 101 did not want to partake in the massacres. But to step outside of the mob, right, the mob's of 500 people, it takes great moral courage, right? And so, part of the problem with why they didn't step out of the mob is because they were presented with this suddenly. They didn't prepare themselves, right? They didn't project in the future. So let's get back to projection. What is projection? Projection is the idea that you pretend in your mind, right, through prayer, meditation, so on and so forth, that you're going to place yourself in a situation in the future like Police Battalion 101, because that actually did happen. And what would you do if they told you have to partake in this, but you have the freedom to leave if you so desire? You don't have to partake in any atrocities. And you pretend that in your mind, and you put yourself in that situation. Put yourself in the situation of 500 police officers of your fellow countrymen standing there, and you're going to have the courage, and it is courage, by the way, to step outside of the mob and say, "No, I'm not going to partake in this. This is a moral atrocity, and I won't partake in it. Evil may come into the world, but it's not going to be through me. No." And so, and by the way, they did say you can go home, but some of them still had the doubt in their mind that maybe they would be shot in the back of the neck too. And so there was some fear of their own lives to step out of the mob. And so, and they interviewed these guys afterward, and they figured out what the mentality and the psychology of turning ordinary people into psychopathic killers was. And it doesn't take much tweaking. It's not that difficult to actually do it. And so therefore, you as a Roman Catholic, you have to project into the future. And so, and it's not just Police Battalion 101. You can project in the future for all sorts of things. Like you're at an abortion clinic and you're witnessing abortion. What do you do? Like, you have to think, how would I reason my way through this in a sudden instance to actually protect the life of the unborn? How would I do it in a just, moral way? And so, and you could take all sorts of events. You could take it with conflict with your boss, conflict with your spouse, conflict with your children, conflict if my spouse says this, then I say that. If my, and the thing is, projection isn't about winning an intellectual argument. It's not about like dominating the enemy. Projection is literally about refining your moral conscience in times of crises, in times of like unexpected occurrence, that you would operate your life by not trying to figure out what you need to do, but already knowing what you needed to do by projecting yourself into an uncomfortable situation, and therefore calling upon the virtues instead of calling upon your emotional mind to try to help figure things out. And so that's what projection is. And so I want you to do me a favor, and this is a hard favor. I was listening to a Peter Kraft video the other day, and he said, imagine, everybody here, imagine that yourself, just imagine yourself, but you're not in yourself, you're watching yourself, but imagine yourself as a saint, right? And then what type of person would that person be, right? And how would they act, and how would they interact with the world? How would they change their lives from how you're living it, right? So you're sitting there looking at yourself as a saint, right? Somebody who's heavenly, Christ-like, right? And how would they change their lives? Now, boy, now you're projecting, right? Now you have a basis for your own meditation, like about how you are going to change your life to hopefully become that person. And the amazing part is this: if you saw yourself behaving in that way, you'd probably worship yourself, right? You'd fall on your knees and go, that person is really holy. Yeah, that person's you, right? And if you project yourself appropriately and you put yourself in the situation to become a saint, then you can actually become the saint. Because you have to project yourself against your sins too, right? And so everybody has certain sins. We all know what they are. A lot of people aren't as in tune with them because they don't project as much, right? And so lust and greed and pride and gluttony and laziness, sloth, you name it. These are our sins. And if you can project yourself into the future and imagine yourself as a saint, and actually look at yourself as a saint, and then try to become that person. Well, you already are that person, aren't you? Yeah, not really, but you're trying to become that person. That's what projection is. And so try to figure this stuff out in the future. And oh, by the way, this works not just, this just doesn't work with moral situations. Well, every situation is a moral situation, but let's just say you want to get a raise, right? You got to project yourself asking your boss for a raise, right? So you go to your boss and say, how do I pose this argument? What is my boss going to say to me? Okay, hey boss, can I have a raise? Well, and then they throw variables back at you. You have to expect what those variables are so you can answer them, right? And so you can weave your way through the negotiation of getting a raise. That's another utilization of projection. But I think we should all do projection, and we should do it in our moral lives. And, we should actually think about what the world's going to become, because this is, a little warning here, by the way. This is 2020, the COVID year, and everybody's like, oh, it was such a horrible year. Yeah, it wasn't a bad year. This is a really good year. It was a Corona year. But it's not going to be a good year next year or the year after, because literally we've created tons and tons and tons of debt. Unemployment's at an all-time high. The world is unknown. We don't even know the election yet. We really don't, by the way. And the economic catastrophe, the starvation, the famine, the crime, the societal breakdown, or whatever could come, revolution even, who knows? It could be a really, really, really bad year. And whenever there's, societal instability, powers rise, right? Because, power abhors a vacuum. And so it will move in. And that power may ask you to do things in your life which you, as a Roman Catholic, are obligated to say no to speak out against too, by the way. You as a Roman Catholic, you can't sit there and just be quiet as atrocities go on around you. You are obligated to speak. That's another thing for projection, because as you see society as it possibly decays and goes into the chaos and leaves the order, that you can try to figure out a pathway to make the world a brighter place, even if it means sacrificing your own life. So think about projection, look it up, try to figure it out in your own life, and hopefully it'll make you a better person in the future. And hopefully it'll make everybody around you trust you more, and it'll make the situation of your life and how you affect the world a better world. And I think it was Solzhenitsyn said, let evil come into this world, but don't let it come in through me. And so let's project people. Okay, this is Catholic Dad making you think about it. Please like or subscribe. Get the Massacre, pray the Daily Rosary. God bless you all. Have a good day.